Good morning. Welcome back to the Red Mic. Happy Tuesday. Glad you're here. Today's Red Mic message: sizzle or steak. There's a story I saw on Facebook about Cliff Burton and his father, Ray. You might have seen it. It basically says, grieving father takes the royalties from his son's work with Metallica and builds this quiet, invisible machine. Decades of building, hundreds of students, a self sustaining engine of opportunity powered by music and loss. It's clean, it's powerful, it moves you. It's the kind of story that you want to share, but it's not entirely wrong, but it's not entirely right either. Here's the actual real version. Cliff Burton died in 1986. He was 24. He helped create some great albums in metal history. Those albums have kept selling through the years. They keep streaming, they keep generating royalties, and his father, Ray, receives some of that income. Ray, being quiet, practical, not looking for attention, uses some of that money to fund scholarships, especially connected to Cliff's high school and music education. No press tour, no foundation with a glossy logo, no grand declarations, just giving consistently, quietly. But somewhere along the way, that story wasn't enough for us, so we added to it. We rounded the numbers up, we smoothed the edges, we connected dots that may or may not have been connected. Hundreds of students, a self sustaining system, a machine that runs for decades. Before long, the story isn't about a man anymore, it's about the legend. The legend, it's got more legs, makes you feel something bigger. It gives you a cleaner takeaway. Take your pain and build something that outlives you. That's a powerful message, but that's an example of the story being bigger than the truth. We don't just improve the story, we replace it. And when we replace it, we lose something. We lose the part that actually matters. The real story isn't about the scale, it's about the choice, it's about the intention, it's about the nugget of truth behind all of it. Ray Burton didn't wake up one day and say, I'm going to build a decades long philanthropic engine. He made smaller decisions similar to that, but they were quieter, they were harder in some ways. He said, I've got this money. It's painful. What can I do with it that might actually mean something? And he acted on that again and again and again. He didn't ask for any headlines. That's the real substance. Now, if you've ever been to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, you might understand what I'm talking about. They bring out your steak on this 500-degree plate. Even before you take a bite, you hear the sizzle, the crackle, you know, and that sound hits your brain before the flavor of that steak ever hits your mouth. And for a lot of people, the sizzle is the big moment, the anticipation, the preparation, the presentation, the full experience. Sometimes, though, the sizzle's better than the steak. That's what happened with the Burton story. They took something real, a good steak, and they turned the volume up on the sizzle. They made it louder, they made it hotter, they made it more dramatic because the sizzle is often what gets the attention. Now, what does this have to do with the leadership and life lessons I've picked up from 25 years as a public servant, 16 years as a youth football coach and scouting volunteer, and 10 years as a mediocre athlete with far more heart than actual physical ability? Well, leadership is the steak. It's not the sound. It's not the sizzle. The steak in this case was a father dealing with loss. He was quietly choosing to help other people. No audience, no applause, no viral post. The sizzle is, in these descriptions, the decades long machine, hundreds of lives changed, invisible system of impact. The sizzle is not useless. It draws people in, it makes them care, it points at the more meaningful thing. But if all you ever chase is the sizzle, you're going to miss the substance. And we do this everywhere. We do it at work. We highlight the presentation, not the performance. In leadership, we reward the speech, not the consistency. In life, we post the moments, not the process. And it teaches us over time that if we start believing that without the sizzle, it's not real, it doesn't matter, we hesitate, we hold back, we think, well, it's not that big of a deal. If it's not visible, it's not impressive. So why bother? But think about Ray Burton. He didn't build a sizzle, he made a decision. The reason that oversold version spreads It tells you the important stuff, and it tells you something about people. People are hungry for meaning, purpose, something that lasts, something bigger than themselves, a legacy. And that's why the story spreads, because they see all of that wrapped up in a neat and tidy package as overblown and, not exactly 100% accurate as it is. Liberty Valance, it's an old movie, but in that movie, there's a line. Here I go throwing out a pop culture reference again. When the legend becomes fact, print the legend. And there's so much to think about in that one phrase, but don't throw the story out. Don't confuse the message with the measurement. The message is take what you have, even if it came from something hard, and use it to help somebody else. We get sideways when we try to measure it, though. How many? How big? How long? But the better question should be, did you do something that mattered to someone else? Even if it was just one person, even if nobody knows, the real story, the accurate story, is really more accessible, because you may never build a machine, but you can absolutely make a decision. You can take what you have, time, money, experience, connections, and you can turn it into opportunities for somebody else. And if enough people do that, we're not going to need the sizzle. We're not going to need the myth, because we're going to get something better. We're going to get the substance. We're going to get the steak. So don't let the need to inspire turn into a habit of exaggerating. Don't let the sizzle replace the steak, and don't let somebody else's exaggerated story talk you out of doing something real, because real truth doesn't need to be loud to matter. It already has weight. If people know you're not stretching it, they're going to trust you when you speak. And in this world of noise and overstatement, credibility can be your competitive advantage. So just tell your story. Don't turn it into something it never was, because the real version, well, it's already enough. And that's today's Red Mike message. Hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you're able to put some of these things in place in your own life. That's why I do this Monday through Friday. I love you guys. Please give me a like, a follow, and a share, and I'll see you next time. But until next time, as always, don't forget, life is short. Drink the bourbon.